My name is Emily. I'm currently 28 years old, and I live with my husband, John, who is 2 years younger than me, and his parents. My in-laws have always been kind to me, and I've never felt any tension or issues typically associated with a daughter-in-law and mother-in-law relationship. For the year we've lived together, the relationship between my in-laws and me has been very positive. Just as we were continuing our peaceful coexistence, John had to leave for an extended business trip abroad. It seems John's performance at work has been recognized, and succeeding in this overseas project could be a significant step in his career. Thus, both I and my in-laws decided to encourage John to go on the trip, reassuring him that we would take care of everything at home. This is how the life of just the three of us, me and my in-laws, began. Of course, since our relationship with the in-laws had been good even when John was here, we expected it to remain the same in his absence. However, contrary to our expectations, Catherine, John's elder sister, and her daughter, Karen, suddenly intruded into our lives. Catherine is 8 years older than John, making them siblings with a considerable age gap. Her daughter, Karen, is a 15-year-old junior high school student in the midst of puberty. Even though Catherine is married and supposed to be living with her husband, the unexpected arrival of these visitors left me and my in-laws slightly surprised and puzzled. As soon as Catherine entered our house, she looked around curiously and commented, "So this is the new house. Doesn't seem too new. But I guess it's just right for Dad and Mom," she said with a somewhat mocking tone, smirking. In fact, this was my first time meeting Catherine. When we went to greet her during our marriage preparations, she declined, saying, "I'm not interested right now," and went somewhere. She also didn't come for the initial introductions, and she even didn't attend our wedding. "Oh, are you Emily, the wife John chose? You look plain just like John, LOL." Catherine herself was decked out in high-end brands from head to toe and had striking makeup on, unusual for a home setting. Her confidence and desire for attention were evident. Karen also had her makeup done neatly, looking adorable. Maybe it's normal for junior high students these days to wear makeup on their days off. Inwardly, I thought, the young ones nowadays are really cute. Meanwhile, I prepared tea for the two of them. When I asked, "What brings you here today?" Catherine casually replied, "We'll be staying here for a while." I was taken aback and looked at my in-laws, silently asking, "Is this true?" But their eyes seemed to say they didn't know either. But you can't just say that all of a sudden. Leaving your husband alone. What about school? And leaving your home like this? Both Karen and I couldn't tolerate his harsh words any longer. Until he recognizes his mistakes and apologizes, we have no intention of going back. And she sat down heavily on the sofa, acting as if it was her own home. Given Catherine's past behavior and rude remarks, I suspected that her husband's harsh words might just be genuine concerns or warnings. I couldn't help but question her values and behavior. Indeed, children often mimic the behaviors and attitudes of their parents. It wouldn't be surprising if Karen considered her mother's behavior normal. Children often learn respect through the guidance of their parents. Catherine might have returned to her parents' home out of mere caprice. The in-laws calmly advised Catherine, saying, "If you talk it out, you can resolve it." But she stubbornly refused to listen. "The car is already loaded with Karen's and my luggage, so we're staying in this house," she exclaimed with the attitude of a spoiled child. My in-laws and I tried many times to persuade them to go back, but to no avail. To make matters worse, Karen joined in the tantrum, acting like a kindergartner. In the end, they threw a clock that was on the table to the floor, breaking it. We allowed them to stay for a few days to prevent any further escalation of violence in the house, but this turned out to be a mistake. Although I work from home and don't need to go to the office, Karen and Catherine acted as if they fought. "We have a maid here, so it'd be a waste not to use her." They started giving me various orders. Perhaps it was arrogance from her youth, but Karen was truly brash and thoughtless. "Hey, Emily, I'm back. School is so tough. Can't you get the bath ready right away?" She would just walk into my room even while I was working and ask me for things. "The bath is already cleaned. All you have to do is turn on the water heater. You can do that much yourself, right, Karen? But don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be taken lightly. While I allowed the stay, I won't be treated like a maid." In reality, household chores were shared between me and my in-laws. So if Karen and Catherine wanted to stay here, they should also help with the chores. Expecting to take a bath immediately upon returning home is like the outdated whims of royalty. Thinking about it, saying bath now, despite being a teenager, sounds like something an old man would say. That's what I thought to myself. Karen commented, "You're mocking me. Emily, you're so mean," and then left the scene. Whenever things didn't go Karen's way, she'd run to her mother. When my mother-in-law was cooking and Karen spotted carrots, which she didn't like, she would loudly complain to her mother. "Never put carrots on my plate again. It gives me the chills. I've lost my appetite," she'd declare, and instead of just not eating the carrots, she'd throw away the entire plate. Moreover, knowing we separate our trash, she intentionally throws organic waste into the bin for plastics. While such selfishness is incomprehensible to me and my in-laws, Catherine, who should be disciplining her, gets angry with my mother-in-law, saying, "Seriously, Mom, Karen is in her growing phase. Isn't it normal to prepare tasty meals? What are you thinking?" I think, then why don't you take turns cooking? But since staying here, Catherine hasn't once taken up a knife. Probably she's terrible at cooking. So, it seems Karen, from her childhood, hasn't overcome her dislikes by the time she reached middle school. If she were out eating with friends and a dish with carrots was served, would she make a scene, disrespect the food, exclaim "it gives me the chills," and refuse to eat? Honestly, if she were my friend, I'd probably have stopped associating with her long ago. Predicting she probably has no real friends, I observe Karen closely. Karen isn't my daughter, so I have no intention of going out of my way to correct her dislikes. I'm hesitant to take action for Catherine and her daughter, but things escalated to a point where I couldn't ignore them any longer. One day, while I was working from home as usual, I finished a big project, delivered a design to a client, ensured all data was saved, and thought, "Work's done." I treated myself by going to the shopping center to buy an apple pie. When I returned home, excited to enjoy my apple pie in the living room, I went to my room and found Karen sitting in front of my work desk, playing on my computer. She had installed a game on my work computer without my permission. "Well, Karen, don't touch my computer." I immediately pulled her away from the computer, chair and all. "Hey, I'm in the middle of a game. Leave me alone. Why are you playing on someone else's computer without asking? Don't you have any common sense? Downloading games without permission. Snooping on someone's computer is beyond inconsiderate." I was furious at her. What I was saying was entirely reasonable, wasn't it? My work computer is high performance, capable of handling games. But it also contains a lot of work-related data. If Karen deleted or altered anything, it could cause serious problems. "Get out." I took the chair from Karen and checked the computer. After quitting the game and deleting the installed game data, Karen yelled from behind me, "You scum. You deleted my game data." I reprimanded her. "You played on my computer without asking. Learn some manners." Karen, surprised, said "Hua," and quickly left the room with tears in her eyes. After about 5 to 10 minutes, I was relieved that my work data hadn't been tampered with. Just then, Catherine barged into my room with an angry look. You bully Karen, how dare you?" she yelled, to which I stared at her in disbelief. Before your daughter gets scolded by others for being ill-mannered and cries, maybe you should fulfill your duties as a mother. Your daughter played games on my computer without permission while I was away. So petty. Why would someone like you, a NEET, need such a high-end computer? Huh. Did you just call me a NEET? I never mentioned to Catherine that I was a NEET, nor did I talk about working from home. So, Catherine must have assumed I was a NEET after seeing me work from my room. She probably thought it was okay to treat me like a maid. They both mistook me for a housewife. I was speechless. Normally, you wouldn't assume it's okay to do anything just because someone is a housewife. Who are you to talk to Karen, especially being a NEET? You're the lazy one you can't fit into society. What do you think of yourself now? You suddenly come back home with your daughter because of issues with your husband, relying on your parents and sister-in-law for everything. You seem more of a freeloader than me. Shut up. I will kick you out of this house. Or else I'll break your computer and everything you own. Most people know not to break other people's things, but this mother-daughter duo seem to lack that common sense. They might even destroy my belongings without a second thought. On the first day, they already broke a clock. I thought my computer would meet the same fate. If I leave this house, you won't touch anything, right? Yes, just pack your things and leave. Then, I will do so. I packed my work computer into a special box, took some spare clothes, got into my car, and left the house. Having accomplished a major task, I decided to relax in a hot spring. I asked a trustworthy friend to keep my computer safe and headed to the hot springs. Then my in-laws came home and, after hearing the story from Catherine and Karen, called me in shock. Emily, I apologize. We'll take care of Catherine and Karen. We promise, don't worry. But please make sure those two are settled by the time I return. Maybe have her husband pick them up or rent them an apartment. I have some time until my next job, so I plan to relax in the hot springs. I could sense the shock in the voices of my in-laws. On the other end of the call, Catherine was saying, "What do you mean? I just got rid of a useless NEET. I should be praised. You don't know the half of it. This was originally Emily's parents' house. When our home got redeveloped, Emily let us live here. It's the house she inherited from her late parents, and you kicked out the rightful owner." That's impossible. Emily's a NEET, right? She can't possibly maintain a big house like this. Nonsense. Emily is a designer. Didn't you see her working every day? Her computer is vital for her job. It's natural for her to get angry if someone tampers with it without permission. I never knew that. It's because you never bothered to know. You didn't even show up for introductions or the wedding. Then you shamelessly asked to live here. You're truly disgraceful. My mother-in-law seemed to have broken down in tears. I wondered how the three of them would resolve this and ended my call with my mother-in-law to contact a key individual. This key individual was Catherine's husband, whose contact information had been unknown until yesterday. Interestingly, I had previously worked with Catherine's husband. Thus, he assumed my call was business-related and began talking in a business-like manner. "It's been a while, hasn't it? Actually, I have a design job I'd like to request from Emily. I'm sorry, but I called for a personal matter. I've been kicked out of my house. My sister-in-law is squatting there. She's with Catherine, and they have a daughter named Karen." Catherine's husband, that name. "Is my Catherine your sister-in-law?" It seems my sister-in-law hadn't shared any information about her family or address with her husband. Although he knew the location of the old house of our in-laws, it had been demolished, and he was at a loss about how to search for them. He had even considered hiring a detective. It seems she thought I was jobless, so she kicked me out. She threatened to break my computer, so I'm taking refuge now. I apologize for the inconvenience caused by my wife and daughter. I've always been warning her about her selfish behavior, but she never changes. I can't stand this. I'm going to see them immediately. I need to settle things. By settle, do you mean you're thinking of leaving her? Well, it turns out Karen isn't biologically mine. It'll be difficult to remain as a family with Karen if I leave Catherine. I see. Perhaps my sister-in-law ran away because she couldn't bear the secret of her daughter's paternity coming out, leading to a potential divorce. If my speculation is correct, she's truly pitiable. I reluctantly gave him my address. Soon after, Catherine and Karen were taken away by her husband and his parents, and I was able to return home from the spa. 2 months after the stormy events, Catherine contacted me. "Hey, is everyone out?" I peeked through the window, and the house looked empty, like it's abandoned. Of course. The house has been sold. You sold it. I plan to live there with Karen. Yes, John got a promotion and is being transferred to an overseas branch. Being his wife, I'll live abroad with him. You're going overseas? Yes. We can't leave my in-laws behind, so they're coming with us. We're saying goodbye to taking care of you and Karen. After hearing about Catherine and Karen's misdeeds from the three of us, why don't we try living far away from those two, in America? Neither I nor the in-laws had any objections, so we quickly sold the house I had inherited. During the preparations for our new life in America, the three of us rented a weekly apartment. It seems Catherine has been telling people we've already moved abroad, but because of their known personalities, people around them are saying, well, it's no wonder they were abandoned. We won't help either. Don't contact us anymore. Due to her character and lack of enthusiasm for school, along with her mother's financial hardships post-divorce, Karen couldn't continue to high school and is now working post-middle school. She seems to be complaining every day about not wanting to work, but Catherine, struggling financially, isn't indulging her. Now unable to rely on others like before, they're forced to live a minimal life in a cheap apartment, barely making ends meet. Meanwhile, even after moving abroad, I continue to work, living a happy life with my loving in-laws and husband, John.
You know how they say life can flip on a dime? That's exactly what happened to me at this party. My friend Jess had been nagging me for weeks to come out and meet her bunch of incredible friends. Honestly, I was more into a quiet night with my reports and market analysis, but Jess wouldn't have any of it. "Sarah, you need to get out more. Come on, it'll be fun," she insisted. So, there I was, in my least uncomfortable party dress, nursing a glass of wine and sticking out like a sore thumb among strangers. The place was buzzing, people laughing and chatting away. I stuck close to Jess, who seemed to know everyone. She was in the middle of introducing me to a couple of her friends when he walked in. "Tom." Jess's face lit up. "Oh, you gotta meet Tom," she said, dragging me through the crowd. Tom was this average-looking guy, nothing like the flashy type she'd expect at these gatherings. He had a sad smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Jess introduced us, and for some reason, we clicked. Maybe it was the way he talked about his daughter, Lily, with such warmth and pride. Or maybe it was his candidness about being a widower and raising her alone. Whatever it was, it got me. We found ourselves away from the crowd, sitting on some ridiculously oversized cushions. "So, Sarah, Jess tells me you're into stocks and all that Wall Street stuff," Tom started, his voice rough but friendly. "Yeah, something like that. I analyze investment opportunities, help people grow their money." "Sounds boring, I know," I replied, trying to make my job sound less nerdy than it was. "Nah, that sounds pretty damn impressive. Wish I knew a thing or two about handling money like that," he chuckled, taking a sip of his beer. We talked about everything and nothing: movies, books, the nightmare of dating. I found myself laughing more than I had in months. Tom had this easy way about him, making you feel like you'd known him forever. "You know, I didn't want to come tonight. Socializing isn't exactly my strong suit," I confessed, feeling unusually open. Tell me about it. I only came because Jess promised Lily could tag along for a bit. Wanted her to meet some normal adults, whatever that means, Tom said, rolling his eyes. The conversation shifted to Lily, and I could see the light in Tom's eyes when he talked about her. She's something else, my Lily. Smart, kind, a bit too cheeky for her own good, he said, a proud smile spreading across his face. I was intrigued. She sounds wonderful. Raising a kid on your own, that's got to be tough. Tom shrugged, his expression turning serious. It's not easy, but Lily makes it all worth it. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. As the party wound down, I realized I didn't want this conversation to end. Tom felt like a breath of fresh air in my calculated, routine life. Hey, maybe we could grab a coffee sometime? Talk more about market trends, or whatever? I found myself saying, surprising even myself. Tom's smile was the answer I hoped for. I'd like that. It's been a long time since I had a reason to look forward to something. Very soon I met Tom's daughter, and she was like a breath of fresh air. We quickly became friends, which made her father very happy. That's how a simple meeting turned into a real love affair. After Tom and I decided to tie the knot, it was clear we wanted something simple, no fancy dresses or grand churches. Just us, my folks, and Lily, who was more excited than anyone. The day was plain but perfect, filled with genuine smiles and a few happy tears. Moving into Tom's house afterwards, I was buzzing with ideas to make the place feel more like ours, not just his. My new life meant working from home, which my boss was surprisingly cool about. It gave me the chance to really bond with Lily. I'd pick her up from school, and we'd chat about everything under the sun on our way to her ballet classes. She started calling me Mom, which warmed my heart every single time. Creating a cozy home for us became my new project, filling it with love and laughter. But, as the months rolled by, things with Tom started shifting, so subtly at first. He'd make offhand comments about dinner being too bland or too salty. Sarah, what's this supposed to be? Tom would ask, poking at a casserole I'd spent hours on. Supposed to be your dinner, but if you're gonna act all Gordon Ramsay about it, maybe you should cook tomorrow, I'd retort, trying to keep the mood light. He didn't. Instead, the critiques piled up. My appearance became his next target. Babe, when did you last hit the gym? You're looking different. Tom dropped casually one evening, his eyes skimming over me like I was a fixer-upper. Guess I've been too busy being a stepmom and working from home. But thanks for the heads up, I snapped back, the sting of his words hitting harder than expected. Lily, bless her, was my silver lining. She and I grew closer, our bond unaffected by the growing tension between her dad and me. Mom, can you help me with my homework? Lily would ask, her bright eyes always looking up to me for guidance. Of course, sweetie. Let's tackle it together, I'd reply, grateful for her presence and the normalcy it brought. Even as Tom and I drifted apart, Lily and I stuck together like glue. I found solace in our little talks and her ballet recitals. Yet, despite my efforts to keep our home a haven, Tom's dissatisfaction seemed to seep into every corner. You know, Sarah, maybe you should try one of those online cooking classes. Spice things up a bit, Tom suggested one night, his tone laced with an undercurrent of displeasure. Or maybe we could try eating out more. Give your taste buds a break from my terrible cooking, I'd counter, half joking, but deeply wounded. Life at home started feeling less like a family and more like walking on eggshells. Tom's attitude took a nosedive, and it wasn't just about small things anymore. He set these crazy rules like expecting a brand new dish for dinner every single day. It was as if he thought I was some kind of gourmet chef instead of his partner. One evening, I was in the kitchen, trying to whip up something new to keep him happy. I was juggling work emails on my phone, stirring a pot, and mentally planning my next day. Tom walked in, a scowl already forming on his face. "What's for dinner?" he asked, his tone sharp. "I'm trying something new, a recipe I found online. Thought we could use a little variety," I said, trying to sound upbeat. He just humphed, peering over my shoulder. Doesn't look very appetizing. You know, when you decided to work from home, I thought you'd at least manage to keep the house in order and cook decent meals. His words stung. Tom, you know I'm working too, right? It's not like I'm sitting around all day. Plus, I pick up Lily, help her with homework, visit my parents. He cut me off. Yeah, always the same excuse. You're at home, aren't you? Shouldn't be too hard to keep things tidy and cook properly. I bit my tongue, holding back the tears. It was becoming a nightly ritual, this dance of disappointment and criticism. One night, as we settled on the couch to watch TV, he started on about my appearance. Pointing at the women on the screen, he said, "Look at them, they're about your age, right? Why do they look so much younger and better?" I tried to keep my voice level. Tom, those women have all day to focus on looking good. They likely have personal trainers, chefs, and who knows what cosmetic work done. But he wouldn't have it. Excuses, Sarah. It's all about priorities. You used to care about how you looked. I felt deflated, worn out. It wasn't just about the cooking or the cleaning anymore, it was a constant comparison, a reminder that I wasn't enough. During these times, Lily was my only solace. Now a teenager, she saw through her dad's behavior. "Mom, you don't deserve this. Why do you put up with it? You should just leave him," she'd say, her words filled with worry and anger. But I couldn't bring myself to believe that the Tom I fell in love with was completely gone. "He's under a lot of stress, Lily. I believe he still loves us. He'll change," I'd respond, more to convince myself than her. It's been a roller coaster, to say the least. 15 years of ups and downs, but mostly, it feels like I've been riding a slow descent into a place I never thought I'd find myself. Now, at 55, with my stepdaughter Lily living her own life, though we talk every day, sharing secrets and stories like we used to, life threw me another curveball. Cancer. The word hit me like a freight train, but somehow, I managed to keep my composure long enough to tell Tom. His reaction? Well, it was something. Not anger, not sadness, just disappointment. Not because of the diagnosis, but because I wouldn't be around to cook his meals or clean the house like I used to. "What am I supposed to do now?" "Look after myself," he had said, his voice laced with irritation rather than concern. I was stunned, not sure how to respond to such blatant selfishness. It's not like I expected a dramatic outpouring of love and support, but a little empathy wouldn't have hurt. His lack of concern cut deeper than any diagnosis could. So, I started treatment, spending more time in the hospital than at home. My parents, bless their hearts, visited whenever they could, despite their own health issues. Lily, too, was a constant presence, her calls and visits a bright spot in those dreary hospital days. Tom? He never showed. Not once. It hurt, more than I wanted to admit. Even after everything, part of me hoped he'd come around, show that he cared, even just a little. During one of Lily's visits, I couldn't hide my disappointment any longer. "I can't believe he hasn't shown up. Not even once," I confided, trying to keep the bitterness out of my voice. Lily, ever the straight shooter, didn't mince her words. "Mom, you deserve so much better. I've been saying it for years. It's like he doesn't even see you. You're fighting this battle, and where is he? Nowhere. You need to think about what's best for you now." I knew she was right, but it's not easy to let go of 15 years, even if they weren't all good. Deep down, I still harbored that small flicker of hope that things could get better, that Tom would change. But lying in that hospital bed, facing my own mortality, I started to see things more clearly. Maybe it was time to start thinking about what I needed, not just what Tom wanted. The revelation came on a Tuesday, just another ordinary day until Lily walked into my hospital room with a look that spelled trouble. I could tell something was up the moment I saw her. Lily never was good at hiding her feelings. "Mom, we need to talk," she started, avoiding my gaze. That's when my stomach tied itself into knots. Lily calling me mom was always a balm to my soul, but today, it felt like the prelude to bad news. "What's wrong, Lily?" I asked, bracing myself. "It's about Dad." She hesitated, then took a deep breath. "He's seeing someone else, Mom. And it's serious. He introduced her to me last week." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Not that our marriage was perfect, but to hear he'd moved on so blatantly was a different kind of hurt. "How long?" was all I managed to muster, my voice barely above a whisper. "A while, I guess. I'm so sorry, Mom. I thought you should know." Lily's voice cracked, her usual toughness giving way to concern. I sat there, trying to process the news. Betrayed, yes, but surprised? Not entirely. Tom hadn't been a husband to me in a long time. Still, the confirmation of his infidelity stung. The shock of it hit me hard, though a part of me wasn't surprised. Tom's late nights, the sudden interest in looking younger, the new cologne, it all made sense now. Yet, hearing it out loud from Lily felt like a betrayal of a whole different kind. Does he think this is okay? Introducing her to you like it's all normal? I couldn't keep the anger out of my voice. Lily shrugged. He's convinced himself you're already gone, Mom. Says it's time he moved on for his happiness. It's like he doesn't even care about how this would hurt you. I laughed, a harsh sound that surprised even me. His happiness, huh? What about all those years I spent trying to make him happy? What a joke. And that's when it hit me, Tom had never really seen me. Not the real me. He saw a caretaker, a cook, a cleaner, but never his wife. And here I was, battling cancer, while he played house with someone else. For the first time in a long time, I felt a spark of something fierce within me. Anger, yes, but also determination. I'd been living for Tom, worrying about his meals, his house, his happiness. It was time to start living for myself. Lily wiped away a tear, looking determined all of a sudden. What are you gonna do? You can't let him just get away with this. A cold resolve settled over me. Tom's actions, his complete disregard for our marriage, it all clarified one thing. It was time to close this chapter for good. Tell him I agree to the divorce, I said firmly, surprising even myself with the decisiveness in my voice. It's clear he's moved on, and so should I. Lily's eyes widened. Really? Just like that? Yes, just like that. He thinks he can replace me so easily, let him try. But he'll regret this, Lily. Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day. He'll see what he's thrown away. Lily stood up, her stance shifting from worried to warrior-like. I'll tell him. And Mom, we'll get through this. Screw him and his midlife crisis fantasy. You're worth $1 million of her. Her fiery spirit in that moment gave me strength. I was about to embark on a tough journey, battling both cancer and a crumbling marriage, but I wasn't alone. I had Lily, and together, we were formidable. Thanks, Lily. We've got this, I said, a small smile breaking through the gloom. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where I would reclaim my life and my dignity, with my loyal stepdaughter by my side. 2 days had felt like an eternity, each moment dragging on as I lay in that hospital bed, my body fighting a battle I hadn't signed up for. Then Tom walked in, his presence as cold as the chill running down my spine. The smirk on his face was something out of a nightmare, but this was my reality. He looked me over, his eyes devoid of any warmth. Look at you, all sick and pitiful. Can't say I'm surprised. You've let yourself go, haven't you? Found myself someone much better. Younger, prettier, healthier. He gloated, his words dripping with disdain. His words cut deeper than any knife could, but I was done showing him my pain. He threw the divorce papers on my bed, a challenge in his eyes. I took a deep breath, steadying my resolve. I picked up the pen and signed, each stroke a silent vow to myself that this was the beginning of my liberation, not my defeat. You're just as weak-willed as ever. Pathetic. He sneered, a twisted satisfaction in his gaze. I met his stare, my voice steady. If that's what helps you sleep at night, Tom. The confusion flickered across his face, replaced quickly by his usual arrogance. He strutted out, leaving a trail of bitterness in his wake. As soon as the door clicked shut, I reached for my phone with a determination that surprised even me. I called Lily, my voice stronger than I felt. "Lily, it's done. But I need you to do something for me," I said, pausing to make sure I had her full attention. "Tell your dad about the $3 million I plan to leave you. It's important he knows." There was a brief silence on the other end, and I could almost see the gears turning in her head. "Mom, are you sure? He's going to flip out." A small smile tugged at my lips. "That's the point, darling." True to form, Tom's reaction was immediate and as predictable as ever. My phone became an incessant, vibrating companion, lighting up with his attempts to reach me. With each missed call, I felt an inch taller, a bit stronger. I watched the number climb, 50, 60, 70 missed calls, and with it, my resolve solidified. I couldn't help but laugh, a sound that felt foreign yet fitting for the moment. Here I was, supposedly at my weakest, yet I'd never felt more empowered. I had taken the first real step towards freeing myself from the chains of Tom's manipulation and cruelty. The sun was just peeking through the blinds when Tom burst into my hospital room the next morning, desperation etched in every line of his face. His sudden change of heart was as transparent as it was pathetic. "Sarah, I've been a fool. I see that now. I love you, and I'm ready to leave her and start over with you. We can remarry, start fresh," he pleaded, his hands outstretched as if he could physically pull me back into the life we once shared. I couldn't help but laugh, a deep, genuine sound that seemed to startle him. "Tom, you've shown me exactly who you are. After years of neglect, cruelty, and now this betrayal? And you think what? A few sweet words and it's all forgiven?" He blanched, taken aback by my reaction. "Sarah, please. I mean it. I realized I made a mistake." I shook my head, still incredulous. "A mistake? Tom, you deliberately chose to step out on our marriage, humiliated me while I was at my lowest. No, it's too late for regrets." His desperation turned to anger, his face reddening. "You'll regret this. I'll make sure of it. I'll sue you for every penny of that hidden money of yours." The threat was laughable. "Go ahead and try, Tom. That money? It's in my father's name. He made those investments, all legally binding and documented. You won't get a dime." The realization of his powerlessness hit him hard. His anger dissipated into sobs of frustration, a pitiful sight that had the guards rushing in. As they escorted him out, I moved to the window, watching him. There he was, the man I'd spent so many years with, looking so defeated and alone. Yet, I felt no pity. He was reaping what he'd sown, and in that moment, I knew I was finally free. "Justice prevails," I whispered to myself, a smile touching my lips. In that hospital room, I made a promise to myself. No longer would I be defined by the failings of my marriage or the cruelty of a man who couldn't appreciate the love and loyalty I'd offered. It was time to rebuild, to focus on my health, my happiness, and the future I deserved. The battle with cancer was like riding the world's most terrifying roller coaster, one where you can't see the track ahead. Months of treatment stretched out, with good days where hope flickered bright and bad days where it dimmed to nearly nothing. Remission would come, lifting me up, only for exacerbation to drag me back down into the fight. But I kept fighting, every single day, with every bit of strength I had, both for me and for Lily. Finally, the doctors gave me the news I'd been dreaming of. I was healthy, the cancer was gone. Walking out of that hospital felt surreal, like stepping into a new life waiting to be written. The fresh start wasn't just symbolic, it was real, tangible, and it was mine for the taking. Recovery wasn't just about the physical, it was mental, emotional, a total overhaul of life as I knew it. The day I was discharged from the hospital marked not just the end of my treatment, but the beginning of something new. Something mine. Lily picked me up, her car loaded with my few belongings. "Ready to start fresh, Mom?" she asked, her smile bright and encouraging. I couldn't help but return her smile. More than ready, kiddo. We drove to my new place, a modest house I'd bought with the money I'd wisely invested over the years. It wasn't just a house, though, it was a promise of new beginnings, of freedom. As we unpacked, Lily chatted about decorating ideas, about painting the walls and planting a garden. "This is going to be a place of happiness, Mom. You'll see. We'll make it our sanctuary." Her enthusiasm was infectious. For the first time in years, I felt light, like a weight had been lifted. "I'd like that, Lily. A sanctuary sounds perfect." We took a break, sitting amidst boxes, with takeout containers between us. "You know, I've been thinking," I started, "about what comes next. I want to use this chance not just to heal, but to rediscover who I am, who I want to be." Lily nodded, taking my hand. "I've got your back, Mom. Always. And hey, you're already doing it. Look at how far you've come." She was right. The journey from being trapped in a loveless marriage to standing on my own 2 feet hadn't been easy. But here I was, ready to face the world on my terms. "I'm thinking of starting a blog," I mused. "Sharing my story, maybe help others who've been in similar situations." "That's an amazing idea." Lily's eyes sparkled with pride. "You've got so much wisdom to share. Plus, you're pretty badass, you know?" I laughed, the sound bright and genuine. "Thanks, Lily. I guess I am, aren't I?" Said and done. I started my own personal blog, in which I shared the details of my struggle with cancer. People in the comments supported me, shared their own experiences. It was touching and reassuring at the same time. During one of our quiet evenings, Lily shared her own monumental decision. "Mom, I've cut ties with Dad," she said, her voice steady, but I could see the turmoil in her eyes. "After everything, I see you as my real mom. He chose his path, and I've chosen mine, with you." Hearing her call me mom in that context, knowing the weight it carried, filled me with an indescribable mix of pride and sorrow. Sorrow for the broken bridges in her life, but pride in her strength and in the bond we shared. "Lily, there's something I've been meaning to tell you," I started, taking her hands in mine. "When the time comes, I'll be leaving everything to you, the house, the $3 million, all of it. You're my family, my future." Lily looked at me, tears brimming in her eyes, but a smile breaking through. "I don't need any of that, Mom. Just having you is enough. But thank you, for everything." In that moment, any lingering shadows of the past faded away. We were family, bound not by blood, but by choice, by love. And as we looked ahead, the future wasn't just a blank page, it was a canvas waiting for us to fill it with color, with life.